Live NFL trivia every Wednesday night on Twitch at 9 p.m. Eastern. Come show off your football knowledge for a chance to win cash prizes. Check the link in the description to find out more. And now, on with our feature presentation. The University of Hawaii has produced tons of great players throughout their history. However, when you think of the men who made it to the next level and played in the NFL, there's only one player that stands head and shoulders above the rest. Only one player ever played more than 15 seasons in the NFL, and only one player made it to more than 2 Pro Bowls. That man is this guy right here, kicker Jason Elam. I'd be here all day if I talked about every single thing that Elam accomplished throughout his NFL career, because the accolades are too many to count. He played 17 seasons in the league, won 2 Super Bowls as a member of the Denver Broncos, was named a 3-time second-team All-Pro by the Associated Press, tied the record at the time for the longest field goal in NFL history at 63 yards, and by the time he retired after the 2009 season, he was 6th all-time in NFL history, with 1,983 points scored. Today, he still ranks inside the top 10, placing 8th. Jason Elam is one of the greatest kickers in the history of the sport, and is without any shadow of a doubt whatsoever, the greatest NFL player to ever come out of the University of Hawaii. However, what you might not know is that even though Elam played all 5 of his college seasons at Hawaii, playing for the Rainbows from 1988 to 92, he was dangerously close to transferring out of Hawaii and never playing for them again after the 1989 season. Because in one of the most bizarre transfer sagas in the history of Hawaii, in 1990, Elam announced that he was leaving Hawaii and was never going to play for them again. He even so much as enrolled at other schools, going back to the mainland. He was dead set on leaving Hawaii, and then changed his mind in a truly bizarre twist of fate. Elam is widely regarded as the greatest kicker in the history of Hawaii football, but it almost didn't work out that way, thanks to whatever the heck this bizarre incident to start off the new decade was. Because this is the story behind what has to be, without a doubt, the strangest transfer saga in Hawaii history. Before I talk about the incident in question and why Elam wanted to leave in the first place, we need some context to understand just how good Elam was for Hawaii and what made him one of the top kickers in the entire country. Ever since Elam came to Hawaii in 1988 as a freshman, you had the feeling that he was going to be a special kicker. Instead of going close to home and playing for Appalachian State, he decided to play for Hawaii, saying on joining the Rainbows, "If I hadn't come to Hawaii, I'd always have regretted it." And speaking of his incredible ability as a freshman, during one workout, he missed a 57-yard field goal off the upright. As Mike Suak, one of the assistant coaches at Hawaii, said on that miss, when he missed it, the first thing Jason said was, "I'm sorry." He expected to make it. Keep in mind, no kicker in Hawaii history had ever hit a 57-yarder before. He was genuinely that good that the bar was raised so high. Sure, Hawaii was far away from home, as he went to high school in Georgia, so getting to the mainland, let alone Georgia, was always going to be a struggle. But in Elam's mind at the time, that didn't bother him at all. As Elam said, "I wouldn't be able to come home during the season, no matter where I played." His mother also seemed skeptical but supportive about Elam going so far away from home, saying, "It's a long way, and he's my baby. But we want him to take advantage of his college being paid for, and we are behind him all the way." Just keep that thought in the back of your mind, because you can probably already see where this one might be going. Now on the field, it could not be denied that in Elam's first 2 years at Hawaii, he was a resounding success and then some. Anytime you can win all of the kicking duties as a true freshman, the expectations are going to be high no matter what. But whatever those expectations were, he blew them out of the water and then some. Because after his first game ever, where he hit the game-winning 26-yard field goal to give Hawaii a 27-24 win over Iowa, the legend of Jason Elam was born and kept growing. As a freshman, he hit over 79% of his field goals, which was the second highest total in the WAC, only behind Chris Jackie of UTEP. And as a sophomore, for an encore, he led the entire WAC in field goal percentage by hitting just under 91% of his kicks, going 20 for 22 and finishing 5th in the entire NCAA in that category. He also led the WAC in field goals made with his 20 make sets season. Elam became the second Hawaii kicker, and the first since Jim Asmus in 1980, to lead the conference in field goal percentage, and became just the third Hawaii kicker ever, alongside Asmus in 1979 and Richard Spellman in 1984, to lead the conference in field goals made. By the end of his sophomore season, Elam wasn't just the best kicker in the WAC. He was one of the best kickers in the entire country, as you could not find too many better kickers in all of Division 1A who were better, stronger, and more accurate than Elam was. And without Elam, there is no way that the Rainbows have the 1989 season that they did, where they went 9-3-1 and made it to their first ever bowl game in program history, playing in the Aloha Bowl before falling at the hands of Michigan State. However, even though Elam was excited to play for Hawaii, and even though he was loved by just about everyone on the island, something never felt right. There's being far away from home, as in being a couple of hours away by flight or a really long car ride away. And then there's being all the way out in Hawaii, roughly 4,500 miles away. For some perspective, the distance between New York and Rome, all the way overseas in Italy, is less than the distance between Atlanta and Honolulu. It's a long, long ways away, and even during the 1989 season, Elam talked about how Hawaii was like a foreign country for him, and how he missed real southern food, like fried chicken and biscuits and gravy. He was feeling incredibly homesick, even speaking to his coach, Bob Wagner, about this during the second half of the season, right around November. And Hawaii was just too far away and too different for him. After 2 years, he just felt like a fish out of water. And with that, in the first week of 1990, Elam officially announced that he was transferring to Georgia. No hard feelings whatsoever about Hawaii. It just wasn't a good fit. As his father, Ralph, said on his son's decision, he didn't have a thing in the world against Hawaii, its football, or the college. Hawaii was good to him. He just wanted to come home. Ralph Elam then continued, saying ever since he came home this summer, he had been homesick. He said Hawaii was just a long way from home, though he thought he could get over it, but he didn't. And this wasn't just an idea that Elam was thinking about. He flat out announced and made up his mind that he wasn't coming back to Hawaii. The coaching staff talked about it, saying that they would miss his talents as a kicker and a punter, and with head coach Bob Wagner saying, "We'll look a little harder for a high school kicker in recruiting now." Even though Hawaii didn't release Elam from his scholarship, meaning that he would be ineligible to get one in Georgia in 1990, this truly was an amicable breakup. No hard feelings on either side. And just to reiterate that this was a done deal, Elam himself was happy and even relieved to finally be back home. As Elam said, "There's a lot of people who told me I'm nuts. It was a hard decision, but I pretty much knew this is what I wanted. Hawaii was just different. I just wanted to get back to something I was accustomed to. I missed a lot of the little things. I missed the season changes, seeing snow every once in a while." Elam then added, "I think I'm going to be a lot happier playing for Georgia. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it." And I cannot stress this enough. There were truly no hard feelings on either side. This was about the most peaceful breakup I've ever seen in my life. Elam talked about how great the situation was in Hawaii, how he grew up a ton down there, how he liked being independent, and how he got a great education, and even added on his decision, "I want to make it clear I'm not bitter toward them. Coach Wagner is a great coach and a great person. He understood what I was going through, being so far from home." But this was a done deal. Elam enrolled at Georgia for their winter quarter, and was officially a Bulldog. Alright, so nothing about this seems too crazy so far. Player feels homesick, so he transfers somewhere closer to home, and enrolls at that school. Except this is where things truly get bizarre. Because despite being dead set for obvious reasons about leaving Hawaii and being closer to home, and despite literally enrolling at Georgia, Guess who was back in Hawaii 1 month later? None other than Jason Elam. Yeah, I don't think anyone saw that coming, especially because this was not an impulse decision, and since Elam's reason for leaving was not based in something like a football-related issue that could be fixed. You can't bring the change of seasons and the feel of Georgia to Hawaii. And yet, Elam was back, even though he was taking classes at Georgia, was a student at Georgia, and had been for the past month. This meant that he wasn't able to be with Hawaii or work with Hawaii's football team since he was still a student at Georgia, but he was still listed as Hawaii's starting kicker for the 1990 season, even though he was not enrolled at Hawaii anymore, but was going to be once August rolled around. Confused? Don't worry if you are, because that is a very natural reaction to have to all of this. There are probably two questions that come to mind. Number one, why did Elam change his mind? And number two, how was that even possible from just an administrative standpoint? Well, let's first start with Elam and why he changed his mind. As Elam said, I wasn't going to be back, but I felt I had a loyalty. I was homesick, but things were different when I got home. And as his dad said, first he got homesick for Georgia, and now, as I told his mother, I think he's homesick for Hawaii. I think, after a couple of weeks here, he realized how much Hawaii really means to him. The people out there have been awfully nice to him, and I know he missed them. Elam hoped that no one in Hawaii would be mad at him, but obviously, that couldn't be further from the truth, as they welcomed him back with open arms, and understandably so. As Coach Wagner said on Elam's change of heart, when Elam asked if he could rejoin the program, we've given second chances to guys who have done a lot worse. Wagner also talked about how when Elam contacted Hawaii officials a month after he enrolled at Georgia to let them know he was reconsidering, that Wagner would love to have him back, but to take some time and think it over, and make sure that he really wanted to be back at Hawaii. And with that, after much consideration, Elam was back. But that raises the other question. How was this even legal? How did Elam transfer while not transferring, and retain his eligibility throughout all of this? Well, as it turns out, so long as you don't attend any workouts or practices with the school, it's as though you never became a player or a student athlete there. So it was as if Elam never transferred away from Hawaii in the first place, even though he technically did. Had Elam attended even one workout or practice, he wouldn't be eligible to kick for the Rainbows in 1990. But because he didn't do that, partly because, according to him, Georgia coaches didn't really treat him like they wanted him, which is bizarre, seeing as Elam was arguably the best kicker in college football, he was completely in the clear and was good to go. So just to recap how this whole saga played out, Jason Elam was at Hawaii. Then he left Hawaii and made it very clear he wasn't going back to Hawaii. Then he enrolled at Georgia. Then he said he was coming back to Hawaii while he was still enrolled at Georgia. And then he was back at Hawaii as though nothing had ever happened. Seriously, as of this video, there is nothing on his Wikipedia page. Nothing that pops up if you type in Jason Elam transfer, or Jason Elam 1990, or Jason Elam Georgia Hawaii, or anything along those lines. It was as though, because of the NCAA's rules and policies, none of this had ever even happened, and this is just a footnote in history. When they say that Elam played 5 consecutive seasons with Hawaii from 1988 to 92, seeing as he got a medical redshirt in 1990 after a groin injury midway through the season, there's really a giant asterisk next to that for very obvious reasons. Today, Jason Elam is regarded as a Hawaii legend, and rightfully so. He holds just about every single record in the books that a kicker can hold. He leads in scoring with 395 points. He leads in total field goals made with 79. He holds the all-time record for consecutive field goals made with 20. He holds the all-time record for longest field goal made when he made a kick from 56 yards out in a 1992 game against BYU. You name it, odds are, Elam's right up there at the top, and he's in Hawaii's Hall of Fame for a reason, because he's not only the greatest kicker in school history, but considering how good he was and how incredible he was in the NFL, he will likely be the greatest kicker that Hawaii ever produces. But in 1990, for at least a 1-month period, he was dangerously close to saying aloha to the Aloha State, paving the way for what has to be, considering the circumstances, the craziest transfer saga in school history. Get your official Jaguar Gator 9 merchandise by going to jg9shop.com, and be sure to like this video, ring the notification bell, and subscribe down below if you haven't already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out Twitch every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for your chance to play NFL trivia and win cash prizes. Link in the description below. If you want to see videos like this condensed down to 60 seconds, then follow me on TikTok at Jaguar Gator 9. To see college football videos, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To see highlight videos of players throughout the history of the NFL, subscribe to JG9 Highlights. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.